my mom has a more consistent and, makes more money than my dad. And that completely discredits to a point of what you're saying, because there's a degree where my dad wasn't working assisting her.
Well, you also got to understand that anecdotal evidence, like based on your own personal experience, doesn't necessarily reflect the rest of the world. So though that
Myron Gaines schools this young beta in this debate over women's true nature in this street side clip, as Myron Gaines takes on this young guy using anecdotal arguments just like a woman to make his case, and hits him with the hard truth that women simply won't support a man. Let's get in.
But if you're gonna have points or whatever, just say what you gotta say. We can have a discussion, no problem. Yes, what's up, man?
Oh, no, I just want to see what you got going on.
Oh, you want to see the sign?
Yeah, let's see. Women deserve less?
Women deserve less. Change my mind, yes.
Why do you think women deserve less?
Well, there's a bunch of different reasons, but I would say, to make it nice and simple, we got too many simps out here.
What's the constant variable of what they currently have of deserving that they should deserve less of?
Oh, look, she flipped the middle finger off. She's so mad. Can't defend your ideas. Just got to put a middle finger up, I see. So sorry, what was that question?
So yeah, I said, what's that constant variable that women currently deserve that you think they should have less of? What's that they have right now that they're getting?
What is it that they have?
That they're getting.
Oh, man. Well, here's the thing. They get preferential treatment. They're able to be treated like a lady while simultaneously being able to behave like men with almost zero consequence. They could basically double dip. So another can enjoy the benefits of being treated like a lady, right? Enjoy chivalry and, traditional male standards, like men treating them like ladies, while simultaneously they can also behave rude, erratic, crass, with zero consequence.
Can't men do the same thing?
No, we can't.
No.
We're actually held to standards unlike women.
You think so?
Yes.
What backs that up?
For example, you, right? How old are you?
I'm 20.
You're 20. So who do you think is going to have more value in society, you or a 20-year-old girl?
Depends which 20-year-old girl, because me, physically, I work my ass off and I'm, focused and do what I need to do. I'm sure there's a woman that's 20 years old that does the same thing.
Okay, here's the beauty.
There's a majority that
you said you work your ass off, right?
Of course.
Why do you work your ass off?
I mean, because I don't ever want to have my mom working a day in her life. That's all
cool.
it is.
So there's a burden of performance on you, right? You have to work.
I have to. No one has to work.
Well, if you didn't work, your status would decrease. Fair?
Not necessarily. Nowadays, no.
Yeah, it would decrease. So the reason why you're working is because you kind of know it's like an unspoken reality that men have to perform. But if I took a 20-year-old girl, she doesn't have to work. You do. That's my point.
I mean, working is one thing, because women, they can work in other ways. It doesn't just have to be like a 9-to-5 making money. They can work in supporting and doing things around the house.
Working what?
They don't have to work monetarily.
Turn up the speaker? You got to turn up the speaker. Because it's coming in very, very low. Yeah, let's turn up that speaker. Sorry.
For example, if you have a team of people, not every single person is just bringing in money. Someone helps someone else to support them throughout their daily life, to assist them to make that money. So let's say if I had a woman that was, living with me and she was my girlfriend, she doesn't need to make money as long as she makes my life easier to be able to make money. And that's just as much as a help as me making money.
Here's the difference. It wouldn't work the other way around. That's my point. If she worked and you helped her out behind the scenes,
why not?
It probably wouldn't work. Because women don't like to provide for men long term.
It depends on the situation. It depends on the person.
90+% of women do not want to be a breadwinner for a man ever.
That's not true.
That's propaganda, feminist propaganda. Women, if they out-earn their man, or they're in a position where they're in a leadership role, there's a very high likelihood they will leave you.
My mother's a perfect example of that. It's the complete opposite, so I don't
Is she with your dad still?
Of course.
Okay, and how long have they been married?
They got married, high school sweethearts, since they were, I believe, 18. They got married, moved here together.
And was your mom the breadwinner the entire time?
They were 50-50.
Okay, and then what is it now? Now she's the breadwinner?
At first, it was my dad. Well, basically, my mom went to school, my dad worked. Then my mom worked because she got her degree. And my dad
through school.
Then went to school. And now they both work, and I would say that my mom has a more consistent and, makes more money than my dad. And that completely discredits to a point of what you're saying, because there's a degree where my dad wasn't working assisting her.
Well, you also got to understand that anecdotal evidence, like based on your own personal experience, doesn't necessarily reflect the rest of the world.
I agree.
So though that
This young dude seems like a nice guy, but how are you going to come up and be triggered by what Myron Gaines is trying to say and then try to argue it against him and then use a completely anecdotal experience, which is a one-off, and they even agree with the other person, Myron, as far as like his counterpoint of like, oh yeah, like your experience really doesn't matter. Oh yeah, you're right. Like, isn't that the same stuff that you see women say all the time? Isn't that the same stuff that Myron Gaines argues with on Fresh and Fit, all of his other shows? Like, it's the same nonsense. They use a single-handed experience to try and justify all of reality, and they don't even bother to figure out that, like, oh, I'm the 1%, I'm the 2%, I'm not the norm. You can't project that onto the rest of society. And that's one thing that men don't really do, but women, they will do, because I believe they are far more subjective as to where men are objective. And that's why you can't let women run society, because they just live inside of their own heads. And when that same energy gets into young men, they end up being a beta or a simp. Hit that like button if you're enjoying the video. It really helps the algorithm. I appreciate it. Let's get back in.
Might be your situation with your parents, which is great. A lot of the times that's just not the reality. And the other thing also that you need to understand is that your father was the breadwinner for a significant amount of time in the relationship.
How do you know it's significant? What if I say 2 years?
Well, those 2 years is where she was able to go to school, right?
And vice versa when he went to school.
Okay, but he put her through school. So he allowed her to basically be able to go to school, and he
put him through school. Yes,
that's very important.
Each other through school.
That's very, very important. That's a pertinent fact to the situation. But again, like I said before, women, right, are not going to provide long term for men the same way that men will provide long term for women. Also, I think it's important to understand that your parents had a longer relationship. So by the time that everything planned out and she's being the breadwinner, she's a bit older. She might not be able to enter the dating marketplace the same level.
Can you elaborate on the word provide?
I'm sorry?
Can you elaborate on what you mean by provide?
You said she was the majority breadwinner, right?
Disregard what my situation was in my family. I want you to elaborate and describe what you mean providing, a woman providing is. What do you see that as?
The reality is this, man. So I know this is considered politically incorrect to say this, but most women do not want to be the breadwinner for men. They just don't. Now, they'll sit there and have the feminist propaganda and say, I'm a boss bitch and I'll make a bunch of money and I'll do X, Y, Z. But the reality is when women say I'm independent, you got to ask yourself, who are they independent of? It's men. They do that to say, I don't need a man, and they make that money for themselves. When a man makes money, he says, how can I have a family? When a woman makes money, she says, I don't need a man. Completely different mindsets when we make a certain amount of money.
So providing, essentially, you're talking about monetarily when it comes to money.
Yes, when it comes to, yes, being a breadwinner. Men are far more comfortable and built to provide for women than women are for men. If a woman is in a provider situation, the likelihood of that relationship falling apart is very high. Now, there's some situations like yours where it was able to work. But I do think it's important to understand that your dad had a bit of equity there where he helped her get to the position that she's at. So there's some level of reciprocity there now that, you know, she's making the money. But in most situations, women are not okay with providing long-term for men, especially now.
So on a follow-up question, you're talking about providing as a woman or a man is just monetary. What would success look like for you as a human being?
For me?
As a human being, what does success look like?
Having a nuclear family, having a woman that respects you and obeys you. You make the decisions, you're the head of the household, and bringing it back to what it was before. But this whole like equal partnership stuff that we push out there, it's not true. It's all a lie.
So you're saying being able to support and, you know, have a woman that supports you is what success looks like for you as a human being?
Yes, you support financially, and obviously you're the bedrock, and she takes care of the children in the home, and you know, have defined gender roles. I think that's very important.
And as a person, more, what would you be happy with yourself? Let's say you're on your deathbed and you're looking back. What would you look back on and say, wow, that was success?
I think when you're looking at your deathbed, the only thing that matters, that when you're on your deathbed, the only thing that matters looking back is, did you create a legacy and do you have a family? I think you want to be on that deathbed with people surrounding you that you've helped create to some degree.
So what if, let's say on my deathbed, I have $100 million there, and when I look back, I was like, damn, I was a shitty person. You know, I didn't do a lot of things. I wasn't so wise. I wasn't so kind. But instead, you maybe had that same amount of money, but you had a woman that instilled those values in you and in your family. I think that's worth more than any $100 million could count for.
I agree. I think less money and a family is far more important than more money and no family. I agree.
And a woman brings that.
No, she doesn't. No, she doesn't. Like, if you listen to what this kid is saying, he keeps talking about the woman brings the value into the family. So he's either talking about his mom or he's talking about his wife. But why isn't it him or the father? he sees himself in a secondary position to her, where otherwise it's supposed to be you. Like, you can see all these independent women going their own way. Do they look like they're raising the moral bar, or are they lowering it? Morality comes centrally from men. We write it down, we put the laws in effect, we carry it out, we create it, we hold it. Like, we are the more moral of the two. It's not women. And this whole idea that, yeah, women are going to provide for guys long term, if that were true, how come you don't see it? How come that's not true en masse? How come you have never, you can't show me a population anywhere in the world where that is a normal thing, that women are like, oh yeah, I love caring for my husband? No, it's not a real thing. Again, using the anecdotal one-off argument, it's staring these young betas in the face, and they just don't want to accept it. And to a woman's point of view, it's even practical. Why would she want to support a guy who is less than her, where she could otherwise use her smile, use her hair, use her, her boobs, her butt, whatever, to get a guy who would then support her, and then she doesn't have to support someone else? It makes practical sense. It's just how it works. And there's no shame in it. That's just simply the way it goes. But folks, thanks for watching. Let me know in the comments what you thought about what Myron Gaines had to say schooling this young beta in this clip. Thanks again for watching. Like and subscribe, and I will see you on the next one.